Overcoming Gambling Addiction, The Proven Roadmap to Recovery, written and published by Elevate Book. Introduction. Gambling addiction is a silent battle that affects millions of people worldwide. For many, what begins as a harmless pastime quickly spirals into an all-consuming force, controlling their thoughts, actions, and financial stability. The excitement of winning, the rush of uncertainty, and the hope of a life-changing jackpot become a dangerous cycle, one that often leads to loss, regret, and despair. But here is the truth. You are not alone, and more importantly, you are not powerless against this addiction. You have the ability to break free, to regain control of your life, and to rediscover the joy, peace, and purpose that gambling has taken from you. This book is your roadmap to recovery. The goal of this book is not only to help you quit gambling, but to empower you with the mindset, tools, and strategies to rebuild a fulfilling, addiction-free life. Each chapter is designed to guide you step by step through the process of breaking free, overcoming cravings, reshaping your environment, and reclaiming your sense of self-worth. You will learn why quitting completely, rather than trying to gamble in moderation, is the fastest and most effective way to recovery. You will discover how to block access to gambling, protect your finances, and rewire your habits to avoid relapse. More importantly, you will explore the deeper reasons behind your gambling addiction and uncover the true potential that lies beyond it. If you are ready to take back your life, this book will guide you through every step of the journey. The path to freedom starts now. Chapter 1. Understanding the Gambling Monster. The Illusion of Control. Gambling addiction is not something that happens overnight. It starts subtly, often disguised as entertainment, excitement, and opportunity. Many people who develop a gambling problem never planned to. They started with small bets, thinking they could control their gambling. But over time, what seemed like a harmless hobby turned into a compulsive, destructive cycle. One real-life example is Terrence Watanabe, a businessman who inherited a successful company from his father. In the early 2000s, he began gambling casually in Las Vegas, believing he was in control. But the casinos exploited his weaknesses, offering him VIP treatment, free luxury suites, and endless lines of credit. Within a few years, he had lost nearly $204 million, making him one of the biggest gambling losers in history. What happened to Watanabe is not unique. The gambling industry is designed to keep you playing, whether you win or lose. The longer you play, the more you lose, and the illusion of control keeps you coming back for more. How gambling hijacks the brain. Research has shown that gambling addiction is similar to drug addiction. When you gamble, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and reward. The unpredictability of winning and losing creates an addictive loop, making you chase the next win, even if you are on a losing streak. A well-documented case is that of Scott Stevens, a successful businessman who became addicted to slot machines. Stevens was a respected executive, a devoted husband, and a loving father. But his life took a tragic turn when he developed a severe gambling addiction. Like many, Stevens believed he could outsmart the system. He convinced himself that he had a winning strategy. But slot machines are programmed to take more than they give, and Stevens soon found himself in financial ruin. His addiction led him to embezzle money from his company, and when the pressure became too much, he tragically took his own life in 2012. His story highlights the true danger of gambling. It doesn't just take your money. It takes your peace of mind, your relationships, and in some cases, even your life. Why moderation does not work. Many gamblers try to control their addiction by cutting back instead of quitting completely. They tell themselves, "I'll only bet a small amount," or "I'll just gamble on weekends." But in almost every case, moderation fails. A powerful example of this is the story of Mike Matusow, a professional poker player who tried to quit gambling multiple times. Each time, he convinced himself that he could control it. But the temptation was always there. Every time he returned to gambling, he eventually lost everything again. The problem with moderation is that even a small bet keeps the addiction alive. Gambling is like a fire. If you keep adding even small pieces of wood, the flames will continue to burn. The only way to put it out completely is to stop feeding it. Breaking free starts with a decision. One of the most important steps in recovery is making a firm decision to quit completely. But this decision must be backed by action. Consider the case of Arnie Wexler, a former gambling addict who is now one of the most well-known gambling addiction counselors. Arnie was once a compulsive gambler, losing all his money and nearly destroying his marriage. One day, he reached a breaking point. His wife gave him an ultimatum: quit gambling or lose his family. That moment changed his life. He didn't just decide to quit. He took immediate steps to ensure he could never go back. He cut off all access to gambling funds, joined Gamblers Anonymous, changed his daily routine to avoid temptation. Now, decades later, Arnie helps others recover from gambling addiction. His story is proof that it is possible to break free, but only if you make a clear, unwavering decision to quit. Practical exercise: the letter to your future self. To solidify your commitment, take a few moments to write a letter to your future self. In this letter, describe why you are quitting gambling, how gambling has negatively impacted your life, what kind of life you want to build in recovery, the emotions and challenges you expect to face along the way. Seal this letter and keep it somewhere safe. Whenever you feel the urge to gamble, read it as a reminder of why you started this journey. Looking ahead, the first step to recovery is understanding that gambling is not just a habit. It is a powerful addiction that controls your brain. Now that you have made the decision to quit, the next step is to create barriers that make relapse impossible. In the next chapter, we will explore how to cut off access to gambling by using real-life strategies that have helped countless people break free. You have taken the first step. The monster may still be lurking, but each day you resist, it gets weaker. Stay strong. Your breakthrough is coming. Chapter 2. Creating Barriers for Lasting Change. Why removing access is the key to recovery. Making the decision to quit gambling is a significant step, but it is not enough on its own. The real challenge begins after that decision is made. The urges, triggers, and temptations will still come, and if gambling remains accessible, the risk of relapse is high. The truth is, most people do not relapse because they want to gamble. They relapse because it is too easy to access. When an urge hits, they find themselves just a few taps away from placing a bet, logging into a casino, or withdrawing money. The most effective way to break the cycle of addiction is to remove access to gambling completely. This chapter will show you how to do that using real-life examples of people who successfully eliminated their access to gambling and stayed committed to their recovery. The man who cut himself off from gambling forever. One of the most extreme, yet effective, examples of cutting off access is the story of Graham Calvert, a UK-based professional greyhound trainer who developed a severe gambling addiction. He lost over £2 million, $2.5 million, betting on sports and found himself completely unable to stop. Realizing he had a serious problem, Calvert took drastic action. He banned himself from all UK bookmakers and online gambling sites through a self-exclusion program. But even that was not enough. When the urges became too strong, he found loopholes to place bets elsewhere. Desperate, he took his final measure. He sued one of the largest bookmakers in the UK for allowing him to continue betting despite his self-exclusion. While his lawsuit was ultimately unsuccessful, it highlighted an important reality. Self-exclusion is only effective if combined with multiple layers of protection. His story teaches a crucial lesson. If you leave even one door open, gambling will find a way back in. The only way to succeed is to remove access completely, from casinos, betting apps, and even your own finances. Self-exclusion: how it works and why it saves lives. Self-exclusion programs are one of the most effective tools in preventing relapse. They allow gamblers to ban themselves from casinos, online gambling platforms, and betting shops for a set period or permanently. One powerful example is Paul Buck, a successful banking executive who secretly lost millions due to his gambling addiction. His losses led him to commit fraud, ultimately losing his career and facing jail time. After hitting rock bottom, he took a crucial step. He signed up for GamStop, the UK's national self-exclusion program. GamStop prevents users from accessing any gambling websites registered in the UK. Once signed up, there is no way to reverse the decision until the exclusion period is over. For Buck, this was a game changer. By removing the possibility of gambling, he forced himself to find alternative ways to cope with stress and boredom. Today, he runs an organization dedicated to helping others recover from gambling addiction. How to self-exclude. Online gambling. Sign up for self-exclusion programs like GamStop, UK, BetStop, Australia, or BetBlocker, Global. Physical casinos. Visit local casinos and request a voluntary ban. Sports betting. If you bet on sports, contact your bookmaker and request a permanent exclusion. Once you take this step, there is no turning back, and that is a good thing. Blocking gambling access with technology. Even if you self-exclude, the internet still presents countless ways to access gambling. This is where technology can be your greatest weapon. The gambler who couldn't bet anymore. James Grimes, a former problem gambler, used to bet thousands of pounds daily. Even after losing everything, he still found ways to gamble. But his turning point came when he discovered Gambin, a software that blocks access to all gambling websites and apps. He installed it on his phone, laptop, and tablet, ensuring that even if he had an urge, he physically could not place a bet. The first few weeks were tough, but without access, the cravings started to weaken. Today, James is a gambling recovery advocate and founder of The Big Step, a campaign to raise awareness about gambling harm. How to block gambling on your devices. Gambin blocks thousands of gambling websites and apps. BetBlocker, free tool that restricts gambling access on multiple devices. NetNanny, a parental control tool that can block gambling content. If gambling is out of reach, your brain will gradually lose interest in it. Blocking access is one of the smartest things you can do. Taking control of your finances. One of the biggest enablers of gambling addiction is easy access to money. If you can instantly transfer funds, take out cash, or use a credit card, gambling remains a constant temptation. The man who let his wife control his finances. Tom Coates, an ex-gambler, realized that he could not be trusted with money. Every time he received his salary, he would spend it on gambling within days. His solution? He handed financial control over to his wife. She managed all their accounts, transferred him a weekly allowance for essentials, and ensured he could not access large sums of money. By removing financial temptation, Tom was able to focus on recovery without the fear of slipping back. Today, he is a vocal advocate for responsible gambling. How to control your finances. Hand over financial control to a trusted friend or family member. Use bank blocks. Many banks now offer gambling blocking features. Remove access to credit. Cancel credit cards and use prepaid cards instead. Rebuilding your environment. Cutting off access is not just about casinos and money. It is also about changing your daily environment. The casino worker who changed her life. Mary Holloway, a former Las Vegas casino employee, struggled with gambling addiction for years. Being surrounded by gambling every day made quitting nearly impossible. One day, she made the bold decision to quit her job and move to another state. Leaving the toxic environment behind was the best thing she ever did. Today, she is free from gambling and focuses on helping others recover. If your environment constantly triggers gambling urges, consider changing jobs if you work in a gambling-related industry, avoiding casinos and gambling venues completely, cutting ties with people who encourage gambling. Your surroundings play a huge role in your success. Final thoughts. Set yourself up for success. If you truly want to quit gambling, you must make it impossible to relapse. Do not rely on willpower. Rely on systems that prevent access. Key actions to take now. Self-exclude from gambling sites and casinos. Install blocking software on all your devices. Hand over financial control to someone you trust. Change your environment to remove gambling triggers. Real-life stories like those of Graham Calvert, James Grimes, and Paul Buck show that when you eliminate access, gambling loses its power over you. Now that you have cut off access, the next step is finding meaningful activities to replace gambling. In Chapter 3, we will explore how to rediscover your passions, build new habits, and create a fulfilling life without gambling. Your journey is just beginning, and the best is yet to come. Chapter 3. Replacing gambling with a meaningful life. Breaking free is not just about quitting. It's about what comes next. One of the biggest mistakes people make when quitting gambling is focusing only on what they are giving up, rather than what they are gaining. It is easy to think that quitting means losing the thrill, excitement, and escape that gambling provided. But the truth is, quitting is just the first step. The real transformation happens when you replace gambling with activities that bring true fulfillment and purpose. A major reason gambling becomes so powerful is that it fills an emotional void. Whether it is stress, loneliness, boredom, or the desire for excitement, gambling temporarily satisfies a deep emotional need. The problem is, gambling never truly fulfills these needs. It only feeds the addiction while destroying other areas of life. To fully recover, you need to find healthy, meaningful replacements. In this chapter, we will explore real-life examples of people who turned their lives around by replacing gambling with hobbies, passions, and purpose-driven activities. The man who swapped gambling for running. Tony O'Reilly was a successful Irish postmaster who stole over €1.75 million, $2 million, to fund his gambling addiction. At his lowest point, he was sent to prison, divorced by his wife, and left to rebuild his life from scratch. But while in prison, he made a life-changing discovery. He started running. What began as a simple way to stay active soon became an obsession in a positive way. Running gave him the same sense of achievement and adrenaline rush that gambling once did. But unlike gambling, running improved his life instead of destroying it. Today, Tony O'Reilly is a gambling addiction counselor and a marathon runner. He travels the world sharing his story and helping others escape the grip of gambling. His journey proves that finding a new passion can completely transform your recovery. Action step. If you feel restless and crave excitement, consider a physical challenge such as running, cycling, swimming, or hiking. Physical activities release endorphins, the brain's natural, feel-good chemicals, which can help reduce gambling cravings. Finding a new sense of purpose. A common theme among recovering gamblers is the loss of identity. Many spend years believing that gambling defines them, and when they quit, they feel lost. A real-life example of overcoming this is Matt Zarbkuzen, a former gambling addict who is now one of the UK's leading advocates for gambling reform. Matt was addicted to fixed-odds betting terminals, FOBs, machines that allow users to place high-stakes bets in seconds. He lost thousands and felt completely hopeless. But after quitting, he decided to use his experience to fight against the gambling industry. Matt became a spokesperson for gambling addiction awareness and helped campaign for new laws to limit FOBD betting stakes in the UK. Because of his work, the UK government reduced the maximum bet from £100 to £2, protecting thousands of vulnerable gamblers. For Matt, replacing gambling with activism gave his life a new sense of meaning. Instead of being controlled by gambling, he now works to prevent others from experiencing the same pain. Action step. Consider using your story and experience to help others. Whether through volunteering, advocacy, or simply supporting someone else on their recovery journey, helping others can be one of the most fulfilling replacements for gambling. The casino dealer who became a chef. Tom H. worked as a blackjack dealer in Atlantic City. Every day, he watched gamblers win and lose fortunes. Over time, he became addicted himself, losing more than $250,000 in gambling debts. When he finally quit, he realized that he needed to replace his addiction with something equally engaging. He had always loved cooking, but gambling had taken over his free time. After quitting, he enrolled in culinary school, started working in restaurants, and eventually opened his own catering business. For Tom, cooking provided the same excitement as gambling, but instead of losing everything, he was creating something valuable. Today, he runs a successful business and has never gone back to gambling. Action step. Identify a skill, hobby, or career path that excites you. It could be cooking, photography, playing an instrument, learning a new language, starting a small business. Instead of letting gambling consume your time, use that time to build something meaningful, strengthening relationships, reconnecting with family and friends. One of the most heartbreaking effects of gambling addiction is the damage it does to relationships. Many gamblers become isolated, lying to loved ones, hiding debts, and pushing people away. A powerful example of rebuilding relationships after gambling addiction is Adam Bradford, a former gambling addict who nearly lost his relationship with his father, David. David was a respected teacher, but behind closed doors, he was secretly addicted to online gambling. His addiction led him to steal £53,000, $70,000, from his employer, and he was eventually sent to prison. At first, Adam was devastated and wanted nothing to do with his father. But over time, they worked to rebuild their relationship. David took full responsibility for his actions, quit gambling, and focused on helping his son in any way he could. Today, they work together to raise awareness about gambling harm through the Safer Gambling Initiative. This story highlights an important truth. Recovery is not just about quitting gambling. It is about healing relationships, making amends, and rebuilding trust. Action step: reach out to loved ones you may have pushed away. Start rebuilding trust through honesty, responsibility, and genuine effort. Replacing gambling with travel and new experiences. For many, gambling becomes a way to escape reality. But instead of using gambling as an escape, why not replace it with new experiences and travel? Take the story of Robbie Williams, a British musician who once had a severe gambling addiction. At one point, he was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on sports betting and casino games. But when he decided to quit, he needed something to replace the thrill. His solution? Traveling the world. Robbie started exploring new countries, trying new activities, and immersing himself in different cultures. He replaced gambling with adventure, and over time, the urges faded. Action step: if possible, plan a trip, weekend getaway, or new adventure. It does not have to be expensive. Even a day trip to a new place can provide excitement without the risks of gambling. Final thoughts: build a life you love. Gambling tricks you into thinking it is the most exciting thing in life. But the truth is, life is full of amazing experiences. You just have to discover them. Key takeaways: replace gambling with a hobby, sport, or creative pursuit, like running, cooking, or learning a new skill. Find a new sense of purpose, whether through helping others, activism, or a career change. Reconnect with family and friends. Strong relationships are key to recovery. Experience life's thrills in new ways, whether through travel, adventure, or trying something new. Real-life stories like those of Tony O'Reilly, Matt Zarbkusin, and Adam Bradford prove that there is a better life beyond gambling. In the next chapter, we will explore how to handle gambling urges, cope with triggers, and develop emotional resilience. You are not just quitting gambling. You are building a future filled with joy, purpose, and freedom. Chapter 4: how to handle gambling urges and avoid relapse. Understanding gambling urges. Why they happen. Gambling addiction does not disappear overnight. Even after you quit, urges to gamble will still come, especially during times of stress, boredom, excitement, or financial pressure. These urges are temporary, but if you give in to them, they can lead to a full relapse. Real-life stories show that handling gambling urges is the key to long-term recovery. The difference between those who successfully quit and those who relapse is not whether they feel urges, but how they respond to them. In this chapter, we will explore proven techniques to control gambling urges, real-life examples of people who overcame their cravings, and practical strategies to prevent relapse. The poker champion who almost relapsed. One of the most famous stories of gambling recovery comes from Mike Matusow, a professional poker player known as the Mouth. Matusow had made millions playing poker but lost most of it due to gambling addiction and reckless spending. After quitting, he felt confident that he was done with gambling forever. But one night, he received a call from an old friend who invited him to play a friendly poker game. He thought, just one game won't hurt. That single game turned into a 6-month relapse, during which he lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was only after hitting rock bottom again that he realized something crucial. You cannot put yourself in situations that trigger gambling, even if you think you are strong enough. Lesson: urges can sneak up on you, especially in social situations. Avoid gambling environments and old habits completely. Action step: make a list of people, places, and situations that trigger your gambling urges. Commit to avoiding them at all costs. The man who walked away from a winning streak. Glenn Baggerly was a compulsive gambler who spent decades trapped in the cycle of addiction. He had lost everything: his job, his home, and nearly his life. After getting clean, he found himself in a dangerous situation. While traveling, he walked into a bar that had video poker machines. For a moment, he hesitated. He thought, I could play just one game. No one would know. But then, he remembered all the pain gambling had caused him. Instead of sitting down, he turned around and walked out. That decision changed everything. He realized that every urge is a test, And every time you resist, you get stronger. Today, Glenn is a gambling recovery speaker, helping others walk away from temptation just as he did. Lesson: urges pass. The longer you resist them, the weaker they become. Action step: when an urge hits, wait it out for 15 minutes. Engage in another activity. Go for a walk, call a friend, or write down your thoughts. The longer you delay gambling, the less power the urge has. How to beat gambling urges in the moment. When you feel the intense desire to gamble, you need a strategy to interrupt the urge before it takes control. Here are scientifically proven techniques to manage cravings. 1. The urge surfing technique. Cravings come in waves. They build up, peak, and then fade. Instead of fighting them, observe them like waves in the ocean. Real-life example. Jeff, a former slot machine addict, used to experience overwhelming urges to gamble. Instead of panicking, he imagined himself surfing the urge. He reminded himself, "This feeling will pass if I just wait." Within 20 minutes, the craving was gone. Action step: next time you feel a gambling urge, visualize it as a wave. Watch it rise, peak, and then fall, without acting on it. 2. The 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, "I can gamble, but not right now. I will wait 5 minutes." Real-life example. Sarah, an online gambler, used this trick every time she wanted to place a bet. She set a timer for 5 minutes and did something else, reading, stretching, or drinking water. By the time the timer went off, her urge had weakened. Action step: next time you want to gamble, set a 5-minute timer. Distract yourself with another activity. If the urge is still there, repeat the process until it fades. 3. Remind yourself of the consequences. Gambling urges make you forget the pain and only focus on the excitement. Combat this by reminding yourself what gambling has cost you. Real-life example. John, a former compulsive gambler, kept a pain list on his phone. Whenever he wanted to gamble, he read through the list. "I lost $50,000 in a year. I missed my daughter's birthday because I was at a casino. I lied to my wife about our savings. I felt depressed every time I lost." Reading this immediately killed his desire to gamble. Action step: write down all the negative consequences gambling has caused in your life. Keep this list with you and read it whenever an urge strikes. Preventing relapse. The 24-hour rule. One of the most effective ways to prevent gambling relapse is to follow the 24-hour rule. How it works. If you ever feel the overwhelming urge to gamble, commit to waiting 24 hours before making a decision. During those 24 hours, talk to someone you trust, engage in a different activity, and remind yourself why you quit. Real-life example. Brian, a recovering gambler, almost relapsed when he saw a new online casino promotion. He told himself, "I'll sign up tomorrow if I still want to." The next morning, the urge was gone. Lesson: gambling urges are strongest in the moment, but weaken with time. Delaying the decision for 24 hours can prevent relapse. What to do if you slip up? Relapse happens, but a single mistake does not mean failure. The key is to stop the relapse before it turns into full addiction again. How to recover from a slip-up. Acknowledge it. Do not make excuses. Admit that you gambled and recognize why it happened. Analyze the trigger. What led to the relapse? Was it stress, boredom, or overconfidence? Tell someone. Reach out to a support group, friend, or counselor immediately. Double down on your barriers. Block access, self-exclude, and reinforce your recovery plan. Forgive yourself and move forward. A slip-up is a learning experience, not a reason to give up. Real-life example. Lisa, a recovering gambler, relapsed after 2 years of being clean. She felt ashamed, but instead of hiding it, she immediately reached out to her support group. With their help, she got back on track and hasn't gambled since. Lesson: a relapse is not the end of your journey. It is a chance to learn and come back stronger. Final thoughts. Every urge you resist makes you stronger. Every time you overcome a gambling urge, you are retraining your brain to live without gambling. Over time, urges will fade, and you will regain control of your life. Key takeaways. Urges are temporary. Ride them out like a wave. Use the 5-minute rule to delay gambling decisions. Remind yourself of the pain gambling has caused. Commit to the 24-hour rule before making any gambling decision. If you slip up, get back on track immediately. In Chapter 5, we will explore how to rebuild trust, repair relationships, and regain financial stability after gambling addiction. The best part of recovery is not just quitting gambling. It is creating a life that is better than ever before. Chapter 5. Rebuilding trust and repairing your finances after gambling addiction. The road to redemption. Healing the damage caused by gambling. Quitting gambling is a massive victory, but it is only the beginning of your recovery journey. After gambling addiction, many people face broken trust, financial ruin, and strained relationships. While it may feel overwhelming, it is possible to repair the damage and rebuild your life. This chapter will show you how to regain trust from family and friends, take control of your finances and recover from debt, rebuild your self-esteem and create a stable, fulfilling life. Through real-life examples, we will explore how people who lost everything due to gambling were able to rebuild their lives, step by step. Rebuilding trust. It takes time and actions, not just words. One of the hardest consequences of gambling addiction is losing the trust of loved ones. Many recovering gamblers struggle with guilt, shame, and the fear that they will never be trusted again. The good news is that trust can be rebuilt, but it takes consistent actions over time. The man who rebuilt his marriage after gambling ruined it. Tom N., a husband and father of two, secretly lost over $150,000 in gambling debts. His wife discovered his addiction when they were suddenly evicted from their home. Furious and heartbroken, she kicked him out and filed for divorce. At first, Tom begged for forgiveness, but his wife refused to listen. She had heard his promises before. Realizing that words were not enough, Tom decided to prove his commitment to change through actions. He joined Gamblers Anonymous and attended weekly meetings. He handed over his finances to a third party to prevent relapse. He got a second job to start paying off debts. He consistently checked in with his wife to show transparency. It took over a year of hard work before his wife believed he had truly changed. Today, they are still together, and Tom has been gambling-free for over 10 years. Action step: prove your commitment to change. Apologize sincerely to those you hurt, but understand that words alone are not enough. Show change through consistent actions. Avoid gambling, be transparent, and follow through on promises. Be patient. Trust takes time to rebuild. Repairing finances. How to overcome debt and regain stability. For most gambling addicts, the financial damage is severe. Many have maxed out credit cards, loans, and unpaid bills. Some have even stolen money from loved ones or employers. While financial recovery can feel impossible, it is possible to rebuild from nothing, and many people have done it. The gambler who paid off $300,000 in debt. Cameron S., a financial analyst, lost over $300,000 due to sports betting. His addiction led to bankruptcy, and he even stole money from his company to fuel his habit. After nearly going to prison, Cameron decided to take full responsibility for his actions. Instead of avoiding his debts, he created a realistic repayment plan. He declared bankruptcy to clear some of his debts. He contacted creditors and set up small monthly repayment plans. He took on a second job to increase his income. He gave financial control to his wife to prevent impulsive spending. After 7 years of disciplined effort, Cameron paid off all his debts and rebuilt his credit. Today, he is an advocate for financial recovery after addiction. Action step: create a plan to fix your finances. Face your financial reality. Make a list of all your debts. Prioritize essential expenses, rent, food, bills. Contact creditors. Set up manageable repayment plans. Avoid high-risk financial behaviors. Hand over control to a trusted person. Increase your income. Consider a side job or cutting unnecessary expenses. The power of transparency. Managing money without relapse. One of the biggest relapse triggers is having easy access to money. Many gamblers return to betting when they have extra cash or feel financially comfortable. The gambler who gave up financial control to stay clean. Paul M. had been gambling-free for 6 months when he received a large tax refund. He suddenly felt the old temptation creeping in. Maybe I could use just a little to win some extra money. Instead of risking relapse, Paul took immediate action. He gave the money to his wife to manage. He set up automatic bill payments to prevent impulsive spending. He removed all gambling-related apps and access to betting sites. Because of this, he was able to stay clean and use the money wisely instead of losing it all. Action step: make it hard to gamble. Hand over financial control to a spouse, trusted friend, or financial advisor. Use gambling transaction blocks offered by many banks. Set up direct payments for bills and savings to reduce temptation. Rebuilding self-worth: becoming the person you want to be. Gambling addiction often destroys self-esteem and confidence. Many recovering gamblers feel worthless and struggle to forgive themselves. But recovery is about more than just quitting gambling. It is about becoming the person you were meant to be. The teacher who found a new purpose after gambling. David Bradford was a well-respected teacher who secretly accumulated over $100,000 in gambling debt. His addiction led him to steal from his job, and he was eventually sent to prison. At his lowest point, David believed his life was over. He had lost his career, his reputation, and the trust of his family. But instead of giving up, he decided to rebuild his life. While in prison, he read self-improvement books to rebuild his confidence, spoke to fellow inmates about addiction recovery, planned a new career helping others recover from gambling. After being released, David and his son founded Safer Online Gambling Group, an organization dedicated to gambling harm prevention. Today, he is one of the UK's leading voices in gambling addiction awareness. Action step: redefine yourself beyond gambling. Find a new purpose, explore hobbies, learning, or volunteer work. Forgive yourself, focus on the future, not past mistakes. Surround yourself with supportive people who uplift and inspire you. Final thoughts: you can rebuild a better life. No matter how much gambling has taken from you, you are not beyond redemption. Countless people have lost everything and rebuilt a better life than they ever imagined. Key takeaways: trust is rebuilt through consistent actions, not just words. Financial recovery is possible. Take small steps toward repayment. Managing money wisely can prevent relapse. You are not defined by your gambling past. You can create a new future. In Chapter 6, we will explore how to create a long-term recovery plan, ensuring that gambling never has control over your life again. Your past does not define you. Your actions today determine your future. Chapter 6: creating a long-term recovery plan to stay gambling-free forever. The secret to lifelong recovery: a plan that works. Quitting gambling is a huge accomplishment, but staying gambling-free for life requires a solid plan. Many recovering gamblers relapse not because they want to gamble, but because they lack a clear strategy for dealing with future challenges. This chapter will show you how to create a structured daily routine to stay on track, develop a strong support system to prevent isolation, prepare for unexpected triggers and financial temptation, find purpose and fulfillment beyond gambling. By using real-life examples, we will explore how people who struggled for years finally broke free from gambling permanently. The man who stayed gambling-free for over 20 years. Arnie Wexler, one of the most well-known gambling addiction counselors, was once a compulsive gambler who nearly lost everything. After quitting, he realized that staying clean wasn't just about avoiding casinos. It was about creating a new way of living. Arnie followed a daily recovery plan that kept him focused and accountable. He attended Gamblers Anonymous meetings every week. He built a strong support network of non-gamblers. He found purpose by helping others recover from addiction. Because of this structured approach, Arnie has remained gambling-free for over 20 years and has helped thousands of others do the same. Lesson: long-term recovery requires daily habits, not just willpower. Action step: create a daily and weekly recovery schedule with structured activities that support your commitment. Building a support system: why you can't do it alone. One of the biggest predictors of relapse is isolation. Many gamblers try to quit on their own, but end up returning to old habits because they lack support. The woman who relapsed until she found a support group. Lisa S. had quit gambling multiple times, but always relapsed. She convinced herself that she was strong enough to do it alone and didn't need help. But one night, after a stressful day, she found herself back in a casino, losing thousands. The next day, she made a different choice. She joined Gamblers Anonymous, GA. For the first time, She had people who understood her struggle. By surrounding herself with a community of others in recovery, Lisa finally stayed gambling-free permanently. How to build a strong support network. Join a Gamblers Anonymous (GA) group for weekly meetings. Stay connected with friends or family who support your recovery. Consider therapy or professional counseling for additional guidance. Find an accountability partner, someone you can call when cravings hit. Action step. Find a Gamblers Anonymous meeting near you or join an online recovery group today. Creating a financial safety plan. Preventing future relapse. Many recovering gamblers relapse because they gain access to large sums of money and feel tempted to just try once. This is why financial safeguards are essential. The man who gambled again after winning the lottery. Terry Watanabe, a wealthy businessman, was once addicted to gambling. After quitting, he remained clean for years, until he received a large inheritance. With sudden access to millions of dollars, his old gambling mindset returned. Within months, he had lost nearly $204 million. His tragic story highlights a critical truth. Having access to large sums of money can reignite gambling addiction. How to protect your finances in long-term recovery. Use banking tools that block gambling transactions. Have a financial accountability partner, a spouse, friend, or advisor. Set up a spending limit so you cannot access large amounts of money at once. Redirect extra money towards savings, investments, or debt repayment. Action step. Contact your bank and activate a gambling transaction block today. Replacing gambling with a life of purpose. One of the biggest reasons people relapse is because they feel bored, empty, or unfulfilled. Gambling filled a psychological gap, and if you do not replace it with something meaningful, the urge to gamble will return. The ex-gambler who became a life coach. Rick B., a former gambling addict, spent over 20 years wasting money in casinos. After quitting, he felt lost. He didn't know who he was without gambling. Instead of returning to his old habits, he made a powerful decision. He enrolled in a personal development course. He got certified as a life coach. He started mentoring others in recovery. Today, Rick helps people find their purpose and has never gone back to gambling. How to find purpose in recovery. Discover a new passion. Music, art, fitness, or a hobby you love. Pursue education or a career goal that excites you. Volunteer or help others. Giving back provides deep fulfillment. Surround yourself with positive influences who inspire growth. Action step. Make a list of 3 new activities you want to explore instead of gambling. How to handle unexpected triggers and life stress. No matter how committed you are, life will test you. You might face financial struggles, family issues or relationship problems, job loss or career stress, health challenges. Without a plan, these situations can lead to relapse. The man who almost gambled after a personal tragedy. Jake H. had been gambling-free for 5 years when his mother passed away suddenly. Overwhelmed by grief, he had a strong urge to gamble as a way to escape the pain. Instead of giving in, he called his Gamblers Anonymous sponsor immediately, wrote down what gambling had cost him in the past, went to a support meeting that night. By using his support system and healthy coping strategies, he made it through the hardest moment of his life, without gambling. How to handle stress without gambling. Create a crisis plan. Who will you call when you feel triggered? Use healthy stress management techniques, exercise, meditation, journaling. Avoid emotional decision-making. Never gamble when feeling sad, angry, or overconfident. Remind yourself why you quit. Keep a written reminder of what gambling took from you. Action step. Write down 3 healthy coping strategies for when you feel stressed. Final thoughts. This is your new life. Staying gambling-free is not just about avoiding betting. It is about building a fulfilling, meaningful, and joyful life. Key takeaways. Structure your daily life with positive habits and activities. Build a strong support system. Don't do it alone. Create financial safeguards to prevent relapse. Find new passions and purpose to replace gambling. Prepare for triggers and have a plan for dealing with stress. The next step. Keep moving forward. Long-term recovery is not a destination. It is a lifelong journey. The more effort you put into your recovery, the stronger you will become. In Chapter 7, We will explore how to help others struggling with gambling addiction and how sharing your story can make a difference. You have come this far. Now, it's time to build the life you deserve. Chapter 7. Helping Others and Using Your Story for Good. Why helping others strengthens your own recovery. Recovery is not just about quitting gambling. It is about transforming your life and finding a greater sense of purpose. One of the most powerful ways to reinforce your own recovery is by helping others who are still struggling. Many people who have overcome gambling addiction say that giving back was the turning point that solidified their recovery. By sharing their experiences and supporting others, they found a deeper reason to stay clean, not just for themselves, but for those who needed hope. This chapter will show you how to use your story to inspire others, support friends or family struggling with gambling addiction, get involved in recovery communities and advocacy work, turn your experience into a meaningful career or volunteer work. By learning from real-life examples, you will see how helping others can also help you stay strong in your own recovery. The man who became a gambling addiction counselor, Tony O'Reilly, an Irish postmaster, lived a secret double life for years. By day, he was a respected professional. By night, he was a compulsive gambler, stealing over €1.75 million, $2 million, from his employer to fuel his addiction. When he was finally caught and sent to prison, Tony felt like his life was over. He had lost everything: his career, his reputation, and his freedom. But while behind bars, he made a decision. He would use his story to help others avoid his mistakes. After his release, he trained as a gambling addiction counselor and wrote a book about his journey, Tony 10. Today, he works with problem gamblers across Ireland, offering them guidance, support, and hope. Lesson: no matter how far you have fallen, you can turn your past struggles into a source of strength for others. Action step: write down 3 key lessons from your gambling experience that could help someone else. Supporting a friend or family member who struggles with gambling. Many recovering gamblers find that, after quitting, they start noticing others who are struggling with the same addiction. But how do you help someone who is in denial or doesn't want help? The son who saved his father from gambling addiction. Adam Bradford, a young man from the UK, grew up idolizing his father. But as he got older, he discovered a painful secret. His father was a gambling addict who had lost over £50,000, $65,000. At first, Adam tried begging his father to quit, but it didn't work. Then, he realized that confrontation wasn't the solution. Education was. He started learning about gambling addiction, talking to experts, and researching recovery options. Instead of arguing with his father, he approached him with knowledge and understanding. Eventually, his father realized the damage he had caused and agreed to seek help. Together, they founded the Safer Online Gambling Group, an organization that helps thousands of gamblers and their families every year. Lesson: helping someone quit gambling is not about forcing them to change. It's about educating, supporting, and guiding them toward help. How to help someone struggling with gambling. Educate yourself, learn about gambling addiction and recovery strategies. Talk without judgment. Instead of blaming, ask questions and express concern. Encourage self-exclusion and financial safeguards. Help them set up barriers to gambling. Direct them to professional help, Gamblers Anonymous, therapists, or recovery coaches. Be patient. Change takes time, and setbacks may happen. Action step: if someone in your life is struggling with gambling, have an open, non-judgmental conversation with them this week. Using your story to help others. Speaking, writing, and advocacy. One of the most powerful ways to help others is by sharing your story. When people hear real experiences from someone who has been in their shoes, it gives them hope that recovery is possible. The poker player who became an anti-gambling advocate. Matt Zarbcousin was a young poker player in the UK who lost thousands to gambling addiction. After quitting, he realized that gambling companies were deliberately exploiting vulnerable people. Instead of staying silent, he became one of the UK's leading anti-gambling campaigners, pushing for new laws to protect gamblers. Because of his advocacy work, the UK government reduced the maximum bet on fixed odds betting terminals, FOBs, from £100 to £2, a change that helped prevent countless gambling losses. Ways to share your story. Speak at Gamblers Anonymous meetings. Your experience could inspire others. Write about your journey, blogging, social media, or even a book. Get involved in gambling reform efforts. Campaign for better regulations. Action step. Find one way to share your story, even if it's just talking to a friend or posting in a recovery group. Turning your experience into a career or volunteer work. Many recovering gamblers find that helping others is so fulfilling that they turn it into a career or volunteer work. The blackjack dealer who became a recovery coach. John D., a former casino dealer, spent years watching people lose their life savings at blackjack tables. Eventually, he became a compulsive gambler himself, losing his job, his home, and nearly his family. After hitting rock bottom, he went through rehab and decided to use his knowledge to help others. He became a gambling recovery coach, working one-on-one with people trying to quit. Today, John is a certified addiction recovery coach and has helped hundreds of people break free from gambling. Ways to get involved professionally or voluntarily. Train to become a recovery coach or counselor. Volunteer at addiction recovery centers or crisis helplines. Work with advocacy groups fighting for gambling regulations. Action step. Research volunteer opportunities in addiction recovery and find one that interests you. Final thoughts. Your story can save lives. Your journey does not end with quitting gambling. Every challenge you've faced, every struggle you've overcome, it all has value. Helping others strengthens your own recovery by keeping you accountable, gives meaning to your past mistakes, turning pain into purpose, creates a ripple effect, inspiring more people to break free. Key takeaways. Supporting others can reinforce your own recovery. If someone you love is struggling, approach them with understanding. Sharing your story can give hope to others in pain. There are many ways to turn your experience into meaningful work. The next step, becoming a leader in the recovery community. This is not just about quitting gambling. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. The best way to ensure you never go back is to keep moving forward. In Chapter 8, we will explore how to continue personal growth, build success after addiction, and create a life that is even better than before gambling. You are not just recovering, you are becoming someone who can inspire others. Chapter 8. Continuing personal growth and building success after gambling addiction. Recovery is just the beginning. Quitting gambling is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new and better life. Many people focus so much on stopping gambling that they forget to ask, what comes next? The key to staying gambling-free forever is to build a life that is so fulfilling, exciting, and meaningful that you never feel the urge to go back. This chapter will show you how to set and achieve personal and financial goals, develop new skills and explore passions you never had time for, build a positive mindset that keeps you motivated, create success and stability in your life after gambling. Through real-life examples, we will explore how former gambling addicts transformed their lives, proving that success after addiction is not just possible. It is inevitable if you put in the work. The ex-gambler who built a multi-million-dollar business. Scott O'Reilly was once a gambling addict who lost everything: his job, his savings, and nearly his family. He had spent years chasing losses, believing that one more big win would solve all his problems. After hitting rock bottom, Scott made a life-changing decision. He would stop trying to win back his money and instead focus on creating real success. He started a small online business using the same skills he once applied to gambling: calculated risk-taking, patience, and discipline, but now in a healthy, productive way. Within 5 years, his business was generating millions in revenue. He no longer needed gambling to feel successful. He had built something real. Lesson: the drive that fueled gambling can be used for success. Many gamblers have an entrepreneurial mindset. They take risks, chase challenges, and seek excitement. The key to long-term recovery is redirecting that energy into something productive. Action step: identify a productive skill or passion you can develop. Write down one small step you can take today to get started. Setting goals that give you purpose. One of the reasons gambling is so addictive is that it provides a constant goal: winning. When people quit gambling, they often feel lost because they no longer have a challenge to chase. The woman who replaced gambling with fitness goals. Rebecca S. was a slot machine addict who spent hours each day chasing jackpots. After quitting, she felt bored and restless, struggling to fill the time gambling once consumed. One day, she set a goal: run a marathon within 1 year. She started small, just walking for 20 minutes a day, but over time, her training became a passion. Within a year, Rebecca had completed her first marathon. Today, she is a fitness coach, helping others use exercise as a recovery tool. How to set powerful goals in recovery. Choose a goal that excites you, whether it's fitness, education, career, or personal development. Break it into small steps so progress feels achievable. Track your success. Seeing progress keeps you motivated. Action step. Write down one personal goal you will work on in the next 6 months. Turning setbacks into success. Developing a growth mindset. No recovery journey is perfect. There will be challenges, setbacks, and days when you feel like you are not making progress. The key is to change your mindset. Instead of seeing failures as signs of weakness, see them as opportunities to grow stronger. The man who used his gambling relapse to fuel his success. James P. had been gambling-free for 8 months when he relapsed. At first, he felt hopeless, believing that he had failed. But instead of giving up, he used the experience as a lesson. He analyzed what triggered the relapse, reinforced his recovery strategies, and set new life goals. Within a year, he had completely turned his life around, landing his dream job and staying gambling-free for good. How to develop a growth mindset in recovery. View failures as learning experiences. Ask yourself, what can I do better next time? Celebrate progress, not just perfection. Action step. Write down one past setback and list 3 lessons you learned from it. Creating financial stability and wealth after gambling. Many recovering gamblers feel ashamed of their financial losses, believing they will never recover. But countless people have gone from deep debt to financial success, and so can you. The gambler who went from debt to financial freedom. Michael S., a former sports bettor, lost over $150,000 and found himself drowning in credit card debt. At first, he felt hopeless, but he decided to take control. He created a strict budget and stuck to it. He worked a side job to increase his income. He learned about investing and financial management. After 5 years of disciplined effort, he was completely debt-free and had built a healthy savings account. How to fix your finances after gambling. Create a realistic budget and cut unnecessary expenses. Prioritize paying off debts. Small, consistent payments add up. Start saving, even if it's just a little each month. Learn about investing and financial growth. Action step. Make a list of your financial goals and one action you can take this month to improve your financial situation. Building a future that excites you. The best way to stay gambling-free forever is to build a future that is so exciting, fulfilling, and meaningful that gambling no longer has any appeal. The man who turned his life around after prison. David Bradford was once a respected teacher, but his hidden gambling addiction led him to steal from his employer, landing him in prison. At first, he believed his life was over. But after serving his time, he decided to build a future bigger than his past mistakes. He started a career helping others with gambling addiction. He rebuilt relationships with his family. He created a life filled with purpose and meaning. Today, David is an advocate for gambling awareness and proof that no matter how far you have fallen, you can rebuild a life that is even better than before. Action step. Imagine your ideal life 5 years from now. Write down, where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? Who do you want to have around you? Now, take one small step today to start moving in that direction. Final thoughts. Your best life is ahead of you. You have come so far in your journey, but this is just the beginning. The life you are building now is not just about avoiding gambling. It is about creating financial security, discovering passions that excite you, becoming stronger, wiser, and more confident, building a future that is even better than before addiction. You are not just quitting gambling, you are creating success, stability, and happiness. Key takeaways. The skills you used in gambling can be redirected toward real success. Set goals that give you purpose and keep you motivated. Develop a growth mindset. Every setback is a lesson. Take control of your finances and rebuild wealth. Create a future that excites you so much that gambling no longer tempts you. The next step, living a life of freedom and happiness. In Chapter 9, we will explore how to maintain long-term happiness, mental well-being, and emotional stability, ensuring that you never go back to gambling. Your best life is waiting. Now go out and create it. Chapter 9. Living a life of freedom, happiness, and emotional stability after gambling. Beyond recovery, embracing a life of true freedom. Quitting gambling is a massive achievement, but the real goal is to create a life that is so fulfilling, joyful, and meaningful that you never even think about gambling again. This chapter will focus on how to cultivate long-term happiness and peace of mind, developing emotional resilience to handle life's challenges, overcoming fear, self-doubt, and guilt from past mistakes, living each day with purpose and gratitude. Many former gamblers describe their post-addiction life as better than they ever imagined. This is proof that real happiness is possible without gambling. Through real-life stories, you will learn how others found inner peace and joy after quitting gambling, and how you can do the same. The man who found happiness after losing everything. Josh S., a former high-stakes poker player, lost over $500,000 in gambling. He once had luxury cars, a big house, and a flashy lifestyle, but it was all built on debt and addiction. When he quit gambling, he was left with nothing. At first, he felt lost, depressed, and unsure of his future. But over time, he realized that his old life was never real happiness. It was just chasing thrills and avoiding emotions. Josh started focusing on what truly mattered. He simplified his life, letting go of materialistic desires. He reconnected with family and friends. He practiced mindfulness and gratitude daily. He found joy in small things, like nature and personal growth. Today, Josh describes himself as happier than ever, even though he no longer has the wealth he once flaunted. Lesson: happiness is not about money or winning. It's about living a meaningful life. Action step: each morning, write down 3 things you are grateful for, no matter how small. How to build emotional resilience and handle life's challenges. Gambling was often a coping mechanism for stress, anxiety, boredom, or sadness. Many people relapse when life becomes difficult because they haven't developed healthy emotional coping skills. The key to long-term success is learning how to handle challenges without gambling. The woman who turned her struggles into strength. Lisa R., a former online gambler, struggled with anxiety. She gambled to escape negative emotions, but it only made things worse. After quitting, she realized that she needed better ways to handle stress and emotions. She started journaling to process her thoughts and feelings, practicing deep breathing and meditation to manage anxiety, exercising daily to release tension and improve her mood. Today, Lisa is mentally stronger than ever, and gambling no longer has any power over her. How to strengthen your emotional resilience. Accept that emotions are normal. You don't need to escape them. Practice mindfulness and meditation to stay calm under pressure. Use journaling or therapy to work through your thoughts. Build a strong support system to talk through challenges. Action step: next time you feel stressed, use a healthy coping method instead of avoidance. Try deep breathing, journaling, or talking to a friend. Letting go of guilt and forgiving yourself. Many recovering gamblers struggle with guilt and regret over past mistakes. They dwell on the money lost, relationships damaged, and opportunities wasted. But holding on to guilt only keeps you stuck in the past. The CEO who forgave himself and moved forward. Paul Merson, a former soccer star and sports commentator, lost millions due to gambling addiction. He once had everything: fame, fortune, and a dream career. But gambling took it all away. For years, he hated himself for what he had lost. But one day he realized, I can't change the past, but I can control what happens next. Instead of staying stuck in guilt, he focused on helping others avoid his mistakes, rebuilding his relationships, creating a better future instead of obsessing over the past. Today, he is happier and more at peace than ever before. How to forgive yourself and move on. Acknowledge the past, but don't let it define you. Focus on what you are doing right now to improve. Use your experiences as motivation to build a better future. Practice self-compassion. Everyone makes mistakes. Action step: write yourself a forgiveness letter, acknowledging your past mistakes but committing to a better future. Creating a life that excites you every day. One of the best ways to stay gambling-free is to create a life so fulfilling that you don't even think about gambling anymore. The man who replaced gambling with adventure. Mark D. was a compulsive gambler who once spent 10+ hours a day at casinos. When he quit, he didn't know what to do with his time. Then, he discovered travel and adventure sports. He started hiking, skydiving, and traveling to new countries. He realized that the thrill of real-life experiences was better than gambling could ever be. Today, Mark spends his time exploring the world, and gambling is no longer part of his identity. How to build an exciting, fulfilling life. Find a hobby or passion that challenges and excites you. Explore the world, travel, try new experiences, and meet new people. Engage in activities that bring joy and fulfillment. Wake up every day with a purpose and something to look forward to. Action step. Make a list of 5 things you want to do in the next year, new hobbies, travel destinations, or experiences. The power of living in the present moment. Many people who quit gambling struggle because they focus too much on the past, regret, or the future, fear of relapse. The secret to long-term happiness is to focus on today. The former gambler who found peace in the present. David Y., a recovering addict, used to constantly worry about the future. What if I relapse? Or how will I ever fix my finances? But then he discovered mindfulness and meditation. By focusing only on the present moment, he learned to enjoy life as it happens, instead of worrying about the past or future. Take things one day at a time. Feel gratitude for every small victory. Today, he says that living in the present is the key to his long-term success. How to practice mindfulness in recovery. Focus on what you can control today, not yesterday or tomorrow. Practice deep breathing or meditation for a few minutes each day. Enjoy simple pleasures, nature, music, time with loved ones. Accept where you are now, without judgment. Action step. Take a 5-minute mindfulness break today. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and focus on the present moment. Final thoughts. A future of freedom and joy awaits you. You have already accomplished something incredible, quitting gambling. Now, it's time to go even further and build a life that is happier, more stable, and more fulfilling than ever before. Key takeaways. True happiness comes from living with purpose, not chasing wins. You can handle stress and emotions in healthy ways. Forgive yourself and focus on the future. Create a life filled with adventure, passion, and fulfillment. Live in the present, enjoying each moment as it comes. Your next step, keep growing, keep moving forward. Gambling is in your past. Your future is wide open. Go out and create the life you deserve. Chapter 10. The final chapter. Embracing your new life and staying strong forever. The journey to freedom. Your new life begins now. You have come so far. You have faced your addiction, taken control of your life, and begun the process of rebuilding. This is the moment where you step fully into a new version of yourself, one that is free, strong, and in control. This final chapter will help you maintain long-term success in your recovery, prevent relapse even in the toughest moments, embrace your new identity, and live a fulfilling life. Look forward to the future with confidence and excitement. Through real-life stories, we will see how others have not just survived gambling addiction, but thrived beyond it. The man who stayed gambling-free for over 30 years. Arnie Wexler, a former compulsive gambler, placed his last bet in 1968. Since then, he has helped thousands of people recover and has never gone back. What was his secret? He never became complacent. He stayed involved in recovery communities. He continued learning and growing. He never assumed he was cured. Today, Arnie is a testament to lifelong recovery, proving that staying clean is possible for decades if you remain committed. Lesson: never assume the work is done. Recovery is a lifelong journey. The moment you think, "I've got this figured out," gambling can creep back into your life. Action step: make a list of 3 habits you will maintain to stay gambling-free for life. What to do if you ever feel tempted again. Even after years of recovery, urges can return. Life will test you with financial struggles, emotional pain, or moments of overconfidence. The key is knowing exactly what to do when those moments come. The poker player who almost relapsed after 10 years. Jeff G., a former high-stakes poker player, had been clean for a decade. He had built a great life and felt completely free from gambling. Then, out of nowhere, He received an invitation to a friendly poker game. His first thought was, I can handle it now. But just before agreeing, he stopped and reminded himself, I am not that person anymore. One small game can undo years of progress. Gambling has nothing left to offer me. He declined the invitation and walked away. That decision kept him gambling-free for life. How to handle gambling urges in the future. Recognize the urge, acknowledge it, but don't act on it. Remind yourself of why you quit. Review your past pain and progress. Call someone in your support system. Don't battle the urge alone. Distract yourself. Engage in a productive activity until the urge passes. Action step. Create a relapse prevention plan. Write down exactly what you will do if gambling ever tempts you again. Embracing your new identity. You are more than a former gambler. One mistake many recovering gamblers make is defining themselves by their past addiction. While it's important to acknowledge where you came from, you must also embrace your new identity. The man who went from gambling addict to motivational speaker, Kevin C., once a compulsive gambler, spent years in shame and regret. But one day, he had a realization. I am not just a recovering gambler. I am a new person. Instead of focusing on what he lost, he started focusing on what he could gain. He built a career as a motivational speaker, helping others overcome addiction. Today, he is known for his strength, resilience, and wisdom, not for his past mistakes. How to step into your new identity. Focus on what you are building, not what you lost. Stop introducing yourself as a former gambler. Create new goals, relationships, and experiences that define you. Live as the person you always wanted to be. Action step. Write a personal statement about the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. Looking ahead. A life of possibilities. Imagine your life 5 years from now. What does your ideal day look like? What achievements have you accomplished? What relationships have you strengthened? Now, realize this. That future is possible, and it starts with the choices you make today. The woman who transformed her life in 5 years. Emily R., a former problem gambler, was once in $80,000 of debt, suffering from anxiety and depression. But 5 years later, she was debt-free, working a job she loved, in the best mental and physical health of her life. How did she do it? By focusing on small, consistent changes every day. How to make sure the next 5 years are your best ever. Keep growing. Always be learning, evolving, and improving. Surround yourself with the right people, those who support your success. Stay disciplined. Freedom comes from maintaining good habits. Enjoy life to the fullest. Gambling stole enough time. Don't waste another second. Action step. Write down your 5-year vision and start taking small steps today. Final thoughts. You are free, and the best is yet to come. Gambling does not define you. Your past mistakes do not define you. What defines you is who you choose to become from this moment forward. You have taken control of your life. You are free. Now, it's time to truly live. Final key takeaways. Your recovery is a lifelong journey. Stay committed. You have the power to handle any temptation or challenge. Your past does not define you. Your future is limitless. The next 5 years can be the best of your life if you make the right choices. Your final action step. Take the first step toward your best future today. There is no more waiting. No more hesitation. The life you want is waiting for you. Go create it. This is your new beginning. Make it count.